One of my dear friends, Ms. Stephanie Ruhle, joins us. Steph, we're going to talk about what's happening with the economy, but also the government is shut down, the economy's tanking, negative job numbers, the last report that we got. And today, Donald Trump announced that his new White House ballroom now costs, it was $200 million. Then he said $300 million yesterday. Now he's saying $350 million. And he's not checking with anyone, not getting any approval from anybody at all. So Stephanie Ruhle, the host of MSNBC's The 11th Hour and NBC News senior business analyst. Let's talk about the ballroom and then get to the economy. What is going on with this ballroom?
All right, let's talk about the ballroom, because to me, demolishing the East Wing to create this ballroom is sort of the physical manifestation of everything Donald Trump has done for the last 277 days. And by that, I mean, he's doing whatever the heck he wants. There is no checks and balance. Like we have seen previous presidents, of course, do different projects at the White House, do renovations, but the money has come through Congress, right? Approved money, approved projects. And in this case, just like what you're seeing the president do in so many different facets of this administration, he's doing whatever he wants. Now, some Republicans can say, why are people complaining? They're not using taxpayer money. Well, here's why it's important. Just because it's not taxpayer money doesn't mean it doesn't matter. He's getting, whether it's 250 million or 300 million, he is getting it from private donors and corporations. And so you could say, well, isn't that good? It's not my money. It is, because no corporation, no big donor is writing a big check for their health, right? Nothing comes for free. So the question is, what are any of these companies getting in return? And the problem is, Don, we don't know. So yet again, there's a complete lack of transparency. And when there is no transparency in what the highest levels of government are doing, then it begs the question, are we really putting America first? Are we putting the American voter first? We don't know. We don't know where the money's coming from and why.
Well, we know where some of the money is coming from, which we'll talk about. But I also want to know, Stephanie, as you look at these pictures, you see the Politico report, tech, crypto, tobacco, and other companies of Trump's White House ballroom, fund Trump's White House ballroom. We know that. But when you saw these images of backhoes in the East Wing being torn down, what went through your head?
Again, it's like, so what has happened over the last 8 months, right? We've torn up trade agreements with our allies around the world. We are basically telling NATO, take a hike. We want to go at this alone. So think about all the institutions, all the partnerships that have existed in the United States, much of which has made us exceptional, right? Over decades and decades. You're starting to see those things be torn down, and now literally, physically, our White House, the people's White House.
Steph, let's talk about the folks who are underwriting this.
Yes, and so I shouldn't say we don't know where the money's coming from. Yeah. We don't know why. It's coming from a number of different companies. My own parent company, Comcast, is one of the donors. So the question we're all asking, the companies that are backing this, what potentially could they be getting, what could the president be promising? Or when you're currying a favor with the president, we all want to know why.
Steph, let's go over this list, okay? Because I did not know this until I watched your show. I had no idea.
I'm glad you watched.
And I think that I am a very informed person, but I think it's also, you're doing the job. It's also that the media is not really talking about this or handling it to the level that I think they should be handling, because this would be outrageous in any other administration. These are the donors that we know of: Altria Group, Amazon, Apple, Booz Allen Hamilton Inc., Caterpillar, Coinbase, Comcast Corporation, as you meant. Is it J. Pepe and Amelia Fangul?
Yes, yes, that's the Sugar family.
Okay. Hard Rock International, Google, HP Inc., Lockheed Martin, Meta Platforms, Micron Technology, Microsoft. I mean, on and on. Ripple, T-Mobile. Let's see who else we have. The Adelson Family Foundation, Union Pacific Railroad. Let's see. Oh my gosh, the Lutnick
so Don,
family.
The people often ask the question. People often ask the question: is the White House for sale? So this is a project that obviously matters a lot to the president and for these companies. Any of these CEOs would argue listen, this is just what they have to do. Their priority is to their shareholders, it's to their employees. They want to make sure they're staying in business, right? The president has tried to put in place massive tariffs across the board. We could go down company by company, whether you mentioned a bunch of tech companies. Think about this. Artificial intelligence is going to impact every aspect of our lives. If
Hmm.
you were an AI giant and you could befriend the president right now and potentially be building this new universe with absolutely or almost no regulation, that would be extraordinary for you. So if that just costs you a few $1,000,000 here or there, and you're going to get to make your way into the new frontier without any regulators on your ass, they're going to love that. The
Hmm.
problem is, for the American people, smart regulation is what we need to protect us.
But you know what? It does matter if you cozy up to the president. Because nothing that he likes more than money and maybe loyalty, but I think he likes money more than he likes loyalty. Basically, what he said is that he's not going to send in the National Guard to some of the places where the people who gave him money or the people who are supporting him, he's holding off on sending the National Guard. So
So it
basically he's saying you can curry favor with this president.
Yes, that's what he's saying. Or you could look at it another way, right? It was all over the news last week. Mark Benioff from Salesforce, one of the biggest businesses in San Francisco. Mark was throwing a huge conference in San Francisco last week. It was all over the news that Mark said, yes, bring in the National Guard. And then a few days later, Mark changed his mind and said, no, 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 don't bring in the National Guard. And it was reported today that Mark and some others spoke to the president, and now the National Guard isn't coming. I don't know if it's curry favor with the president. I take this as a net positive, that at least we have people that are talking to the president in the case of San
Hmm.
Francisco who know a city and who can convince the president to turn it around. Because what we're seeing in city after city, the president doesn't like the mayor, doesn't like the city, and it's just rolling through. In the case of San Francisco, I'm just grateful that the National Guard isn't making their way in willy-nilly. Now, my sadness is this, though, Don. In lots of these cities, they have safety issues, they have crime issues. If only we could get a federal government to work with local law enforcement. Instead, you've got Washington, D.C., you've brought in the National Guard, you've taken them from their hometowns, from their home cities, where they're now operating in D.C., picking up garbage. Gavin Newsom now has the National Guard helping with food banks in
Hmm.
California. Like it's crazy, this moment that we're in. None of our federal and our state and local governments are not collaborating. They're working against each other at a time when the economy and the country is in real need of support.
But Steph, look, I don't disagree with you on any of that, except why do you have to give him money in order for him to follow the Constitution or,
You shouldn't have to, Don.
norms? Right. But
Okay, you absolutely shouldn't have to. And fundamentally, I agree with you. But if I were in one of these guys' positions, and I'm not defending them, they would say, these are the cards we've been dealt. We've got to play our hand. And so they would say, we're inside the White House, we're talking to the president, we're getting something good, but they're getting something good for themselves and their companies. We did not vote for any of these people. So you're right that suddenly, if you pay the president, you can curry a favor with him. I don't feel good about that because I don't know who that person is or what they want. But yes, that's how this president operates. And the business community and other world leaders have figured that out. And he doesn't hide it.
he doesn't hide it at all, and that's why I said there's no quiet part anymore. Um,
No.
so you mentioned tariffs. I don't know if we've gotten any real numbers now since the government has shut down, but economists, I understand, are projecting the Consumer Price Index (CPI) report to show higher inflation in September, largely due to climbing energy and food prices, two of the hardest areas of Americans to cut costs. Despite Trump's claims that to the contrary, prices have risen steadily since the second half of the year.
Don,
So,
think about this example. Just a week ago, the president said grocery prices are down. What are people talking about?
it's
And
not
at the
true.
same time, he's now trying to get beef prices lowered. If grocery prices were down and he were telling the truth, you wouldn't need to get beef prices down. And how is he trying to get beef prices down? He now wants to import beef from Argentina. And now you've got cattle ranchers going, are you kidding me? This is
Yeah.
only going to hurt us more. Much like soybean farmers that are used to selling tons and tons of soybeans to China. We're now exporting 0 soybeans to China, and they're buying their soybeans from Argentina that we are currently trying to bail out to the tune of $40 billion. And that right there, anyone who says America first, America only, I don't know how they rationalize an Argentine bailout.
Well, I don't know. Did you see his tweet or Truth Social? He basically called the cattle ranchers stupid. He's like, they just don't understand what I've been doing for them, and they're in the great position that they're in now because of me. What the hell is he talking about?
Don, that's extraordinary. It's fair to say that there are a lot of people who are misinformed or ill-informed, but if you don't think farmers deeply understand, if you don't think cattle ranchers deeply understand trade, if you don't think they understand pricing, when we talk about government data and who it matters to, oftentimes it's farmers. So for the president to say that, I mean, that is like really sticking poking those ranchers when they know exactly how their business runs. They know the struggles they have. So to say, I'm doing you a favor with the tariffs, no, sir, he's not. And they know it, which is why we'll likely remember in the last, when Trump was elected last time, farmers suffered because of the tariffs. And that's why he had to provide a huge farm aid bill. And we could end up in that same position again. We're hearing from the ag secretary that we need to be providing more support for our farmers because they're suffering.
Okay, so that CPI number, that measures annual inflation, right? It went from, I think, 3% in January, 2.4% in March, but then it spiked back up to almost 3%, 2.9% in August. So, and businesses are also hiring, Stephanie, fewer workers than recent years. So the unemployment rate is going to be higher. Millions of people are out there fighting for jobs right now. So I'm wondering why people are thinking this economy is better, perhaps, or are we just hearing the propaganda from the White House?
No. The underlying economy is okay. What we're seeing from businesses, though, they're not growing and they're not hiring because of the tariffs. They don't know whether to turn right or turn left. And another place where when people say, well, the economy is strong, look at the stock market. When you look at the stock market, it's really these 7 mega tech companies that are overweight all the rest of the companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Index. And those are companies that aren't impacted by tariffs and they're not impacted by immigration. So when you go under the hood, there are a lot of companies struggling, but I would certainly not say we're not in recession territory. Everything is okay. People are just nervous because they don't know what's to come ahead. We have a wildly unpredictable president.
But how long can we just be okay, Steph?
We don't know. Listen, we've got the likes of Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. We've got David Solomon from Goldman Sachs warning that there could be a correction that could be coming on the way, but we don't know yet, which is why a lot of people are just kind of nervous at this moment.
Why aren't these business owners complaining? Why are they donating money? You said that they're in the White House, I guess, because
because they have access to this president, right?
But
I
they're
can
also
tell
making
you.
money hand over fist, Steph.
Yes, not all, but I mean, listen, the amount of money being made in the crypto space right now is like beyond anything you can ever compute. But I would say, and again, I'm not defending them, but CEOs want access to the president. They want to have their voice heard. They want to get in there, and they can. They can call the president. They can call Howard Lutnick. They might not like what the president has to say, but they feel like they're in the room and maybe they can negotiate for themselves, and that's good for them. It's not necessarily good for the American people because, again, we're in a situation where favors are being curried every day.
Steph, I like the look. I like the glasses. I like the hair. I like the.
Thank you.
And I want to see you on. I want to see you on your show like this. I love the relaxed Steph. Maybe tonight. What do you got? You got something good for us tonight at 11 on?
It'll be you know what?
MSNBC?
You'll soon find out. Tune in at 11. You know
Stephanie,
what? Actually, tonight, Art Cullen from Storm Lake, Iowa is going to be on. He's the editor-in-chief of the Storm Lake Times. And I'm especially happy to talk to Art because when you talk about, the media being disconnected or we're on the coast, Art is going to give us an exact view of, we're talking about all these mass deportations. You would think that they would happen at meat processing plants, right? Because there are lots of undocumented immigrants that work there. But I guarantee we're going to hear from Art that you're not seeing huge raids there. Why? Because meat processors are among the biggest donors to President Trump.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.